It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, folks, when he was on the show before, Greg Palmer talked about some of the serious concerns we have today in our society, particularly with young people learning about respect, learning about their peers, and where are we going in this nation? We're seeing a lot of this happening in our country with a lot of prejudice. Does it still exist? Greg Palmer has been an entertainer for many, many years. I know him since he was 13 years old. And he is now going into the school districts upon request, doing some sort of like a motivational speaker and letting students think about different things. And when he goes into the schools, he makes a presentation, and we're going to hear about that presentation today. There is a form all the students get before he makes his presentation. We're going to discuss some of those responses, and you're going to be surprised with our children are thinking today. Greg, thanks for coming on the show again.
Thank you for having me again, Sam.
I know you're busy, and I know this has been extremely successful for you. I know a lot of the school districts have been calling you to come and speak to the children. To give a little background for those people who did not see the first show, and we talked about this, Greg Palmer, who are you? What do you do when you go into the schools?
This is what I do, Sam. I talk to the children about how I want them to think before the fact, not after the act. Because I explain to them, once you do it, the thought becomes remote. I want my kids to think through before they do this stuff, because it's very important. Then I hand out these papers that I want them to have. So at the end of the period of my presentation, they write down the answers to my 3 questions on that paper. And what has happened that I've seen, because I've done quite a few schools now that have called me and asked me to do this, our kids are hurting, our kids are angry, our kids want to know the truth. They want to know the real deal.
With that being said, let's go back a little bit so someone knows when they're introducing you. Okay, take me to that class right now. Take me to the beginning of what you come out and say.
Yes, sir.
And then let me follow that presentation.
Okay, when I come on and they introduce me, again, I introduce myself, and I let them know who I am, where I've been, how I was awarded a state from age of 3 to 18, the placements I was in, the foster homes I was in, the type of treatment I had. They ask me the type of treatment I've had when I lived in Hazleton, and we talk about those things, the barriers I had to break or go through, and it was very important that they understood that if you keep your head together, you can make it through this. You can make a difference. You can make a change.
You talk about your, upbringing,
yes,
right?
Sir.
And I met you when you were around 13 years old.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yes.
And at that time, you were very energetic. Reverend Abernathy played a very important part in your life.
To this day, yes.
Okay. Great person, and did great wonders up there, United Charities.
Yes.
And you had a lot of things that happened to you. So these children are looking at, certainly, you're black, and you're in a predominant white area here.
Yes.
So they come on and they're mesmerized to a degree. You dress certainly, you make a statement when you're dressing, okay? And is there a reason for that?
Absolutely, there's a reason for it, because it's called self-esteem. If you believe in yourself, if you like yourself, if you love yourself, then you will let that exude through the way you appear. You can't come out feeling bad and dressing good. No, you dress good because you feel good. Mm-hmm. You wear the type of clothing you wear because that's the way you feel about yourself.
How did you feel, when these children are looking at you and you're talking to them and you're explaining to you what happened in your life? Like, you were, they put a cross in your lawn.
Yes.
They broke your car. Mm-hmm. And why did they do that?
Well, number one, jealousy is a terrible thing. Mm-hmm. You know it and I know it. Mm-hmm. When people don't understand, and I say to my kids out there as I'm talking, fear breeds ignorance. Ignorance breeds violence. And I want my kids to understand that. I say that in the beginning of most of my presentation, because I didn't have time to walk around and say, oh, you're doing that to me because I'm black. Because if I got mad to the point where I didn't talk to nobody, who would I talk to? The black people didn't do it. So what am I going to do? I'm going to pick myself up and walk on. That's what you have to do in order to survive. And keep your respect, keep your dignity intact.
You say that you did not use drugs.
Yes, sir.
You did not drink, okay, but you were in the entertainment field.
Yes.
Some people would find that a little difficult to believe because you were in Atlantic City, you
Yes.
were a lot of major places,
Yes.
and you know, that high profile that you have, the excitement, okay, saying, you mean to tell me, is he lying? He had to be doing something.
No, Sam, I didn't have time to do that, because the gift that God gave me to use, I still use that gift to this day. If I was out there partying my life and acting like something I wasn't, I wouldn't be able to sit here and talk to you, Sam.
Did you ever at any point in time, okay, sometimes we do get frustrated, okay,
Yes.
and you said something that is extremely right on target, and it's unfortunate. Those people who are jealous of other people,
Yes.
Comes with envy. Here you are, you're a great entertainment, you're singing, all the young girls are looking at you, and you know, as you get older, you know, older girls in their 20s, and you know, and then, well, who is he that he thinks you get all these white
Sure.
girls and all this
Yes,
stuff like that,
yes.
and that builds envy and jealousy up, okay,
Big
and
time.
then fear comes, and even in our society today, unfortunately, we have people who think they're better than other people, and because they have wealth, and they belong to certain organizations, or they belong to certain clubs, or they belong, so automatically they think because they belong to them, they're better than other people, and it's sad. It really
Yes.
is sad. You bring some of those things up to those students because some of those students are byproducts of their parents.
Absolutely.
They see how their parents snobs. They see how their parents talk about people, and if you're not in a right financial thing, you treat people like they're dirt and you're above them. How do you relate to those students so they know that that shouldn't be the case?
Well, it's very simple, Sam, because as I was coming up as a young man, I could not afford to do that. I could not look down at somebody. I could not judge somebody, because here I am, I'm fighting prejudice. I'm fighting Mr. Racism. How am I going to tell you I can't talk to you or be around you because of what you own and what you don't have? I couldn't do that. I couldn't afford that. I couldn't afford that.
Did you ever, at any time of your life, become to the point where you just, you know, you were getting hammered so much, people giving you things that were so unfair in your life that you just wanted to give up?
No, Sam. I just had something unfair happen in my life. I lost my job of 12 years, and it was not fair. But I got to go on. I got to believe that my God has me in His hands, and what He's going to give me is what I need.
So when you're talking about motivational, okay,
Yes.
and I told you at one time I used to do motivational speeches, and I think I loved them, okay. When he goes into a school, he passes out, as he said, questions. And the first question is, have you ever heard students make negative comments to people in your school? Why? Second question is, excuse me, have you ever disrespected friends or people in your family? Why? And then, what things will you change in your life because of this discussion? I'm going to read some of the comments from 8th grade students, folks, and you'll see why it's so important to understand what Greg's saying, and it's a lesson for all of us, particularly for those of us, or those of you, those of us who feel sometimes we are a little better than people because we are who we think we are. Stay with us. Hey folks, thanks for staying with us, and don't forget ssptv.com, our website, folks, over 1 million hits. Thanks for going to our website. Well, all of our shows are there, particularly Watch the Girls. We're getting tremendous reviews on that show. My guest today is Greg Palmer, who is a scholastic motivational speaker. But before we talk to Greg, let me talk about our official water of SSP TV and also Samson Productions, Tom Ecken Mountain Spring Water. For those of you who are new in the different areas that are watching us, ask for Tom Ecken Mountain Spring Water or Google it. This is the water that Starbucks uses. And if they don't have this water where you buy your water, ask for it. In the greater Hazleton area, JoJo's has this water. And then, of course, folks, this is what I take every day. 2 shots of this every morning. It's great stuff. It's called Mona V. Dan Pasala, give him a call. The phone number's on the screen. I take this, gives you a lot of energy. Getting back to my guest, Greg Palmer, who is a scholastic motivational speaker. You go into the school districts, and you've been going into the Greater Hazleton Area School District. And folks, let me mention this. If you'd like Greg to come to your school, the number that you should call is 430-9005. That's, of course, area codes 570-430-9005. And what you do, Greg, you go and talk to students 5th, 6th, 7th, up to 9th grade about, your life, about their peers, about, what their lives are about. So give me that presentation.
Okay, I get a marker and I go up to the board and I write down words. First word I write down, Sam, is think. Then I have them pronounce that back to me because that's what I want them to do. I want their eyes on me because I explain to them their eyes are the window to their soul. When you are looking directly at me and I'm directly at you, I can see that you are not only paying attention, but you're getting what I have to say. Then I will write a word on the board called awesome. I spell it out, they repeat it back to me, Sam. I ask them to think, what word can you get out of awesome in the beginning of that word? Some get it, some don't. The word is we. And the reason why I said that is because I want them to say, or to see, that we can get this done. There is no I in team. I put team on the board. I have them spell that to me. I have them pronounce that to me. There's no I in team. This is about us. This is about we. Only we can change this. Only we can make this better.
And as you're putting those on the board,
yes,
okay, and you're explaining to them,
yes,
then do you get any questions or any comments?
Well, they are so busy taking in what I'm saying, Sam, that comes on later on after I get done doing what I'm doing, and they get done writing down on that piece of paper to those 3 questions. Then yes, we do have a question.
So when you put the word think on the board,
yes,
okay, which applies to every one of us, these students are looking, saying, okay, think about what?
Mm-hmm. Oh, think about what? Your decisions. Think about the consequences of your decisions. If you see somebody that is having a bad day and you want to go and make that day worse for them, think about that. Think about it. I want them to think about everything, Sam.
I love it, okay, because I've always been, my father, God rest his good soul, he always said to me, do not pretend what you are not.
Yes.
Okay. And treat people the way you want to be treated. It's
right.
a simple thing. And if I fell off the wagon, okay, and maybe didn't, broke that rule, it came back to me. It would always come back to me.
Yes.
And then I would say, wait a minute, Sammy, it's like people who talk about people, and it's about, kids who bully other kids. But when they get bullied, oh, what'd you do to my son or my daughter? Oh, why did Mary say this about us? And did you hear what they said about me? But what they fail to realize is, what did they say about other people?
That's right.
Okay. And I think you bring that into the young people so they can think about this.
Well, not only that, Sam, but we all need to think about it, because what goes around comes around. And you can't keep giving out and not expect something back. So all I'm saying is, if you're going to give out something that's worthwhile for you, that's good for you and your peers, your adults. People say, well, they got to learn to respect authority. Well, guess what? Authority needs to learn to respect our children. You can't rip a child down and expect that child to grow up and say, oh, that was okay. That's okay you did that to me. No, that child's going to resent that. We need to stop asking our kids to give us something that we're not giving them.
Amen to that.
We got to stop doing that, Sam.
I look at this here, and it sort of like breaks my heart. One of the questions, have you ever heard students make negative comments to people in your school? Remember, students mimic what they learn. They mimic either their families or their friends or their guardians. I'm not picking on families, but they do mimic.
Yes.
Have you ever heard students make negative comments to people in your school? Every one of these that I have in front of me said yes.
And I have a pile of them. Sam.
Yeah, and yes, because I believe many people become jealous and get angry towards that person. And how do we're not going to live in a perfect world.
There's no
okay?
such thing.
We have wars today. We have egos. We have I say to my staff, if you want something to fail, bring your ego into it. Anytime you bring ego into anything, it's going to fail, okay? And some people who hear my voice right now, they know who they are.
Sure.
They know when they feel that they're in. I cannot stand when people think in our society today, because God's been good to them and has given them resources and is giving them a good living, that they think they're better than somebody. Right. If they're together with their peers, they look down on other people because, you're not, and what are they doing at this particular party, okay? I feel sorry for those people because they have a void in their life.
Yes.
And that factors down to their children.
Absolutely, Sam, because children learn what they live. They do. And if you're a negative force in your children's lives, well, they're going to be negative to other people in their lives, Sam. That's why I try to tell these kids when I talk to them, think. It is so important. Think. We talked about bullying. Bullying is nothing new, Sam. That has been around since the ages. Instead of bullying back in the day, we called, oh, he's picking on me. I'm picking on that. She's picking on that. That's what bullying was back then. Today, we use the word bullying because what they're doing now is much bigger. I mean, you bring a machete into school, you bring a knife, a gun. I mean, come on, these are some serious days we have, Sam. We need to find a way to get to our children so they can understand the consequences of their actions.
Did you ever think of speaking to the adults?
I would love it. I would love it. Because,
as we're doing with this show right now?
Listen, because that's where it starts. Mm-hmm. That's where it starts.
Do you think you'll be able to teach an old dog new tricks?
You may not be able to teach him old new tricks, but you can open up his eyes wider so he can see the world.
If I never liked black people,
yes,
you think you'll change my idea in saying I should like? And I said on the show last time, and you brought a point up, and some people made comments of it where I said I don't see color, I see a person. You said, no, wait a minute, Sammy, I am black, and that's it. So, but you know what I meant, right?
Yes, I do, absolutely.
Okay.
I did not take it offensively, Sam.
No, I understand.
All I was saying is, please, if we want to know how to treat someone, know that you see what you see. I am a man of color. He is Spanish. She is a woman. Come on, people. We can't walk around and address a situation if we don't.
Folks, I'm talking to Greg Palmer, a scholastic and motivational speaker for those in the greater Hazleton area, and this show is being seen all through Schuylkill County and Carbon County and Luzerne County. You know him as an entertainer, but now he is going into schools and giving these talks, and they have been so successful. We come back, we'll talk about some of the things that these students then say. What things will you change in your life because of this discussion? Really exciting stuff. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us, folks. I'm Sam Lesante. My guest is Greg Palmer. He is a scholastic motivational speaker. He goes into the schools, talks to the students. Greg has a presentation, and then they have to ask some or answer some questions. When you're done, what things will you change your life because of your discussion? Some says, I'm going to control my temper and do what my mother tells me. A lot more. I will change my life by these three phrases. I am someone. I am special. I am awesome. Okay. I will also respect my family and friends more than before. I will try to be a better person by helping more and thinking more. I will change the way I talk to people and stop using the N-word. Now, let's talk about, you address the N-word. What do you do about the N-word?
This is what I do, Sam. I put down the N-word. People use the slang nigger. I write that on the board. People use it with the NR on the end. I put that on the board. And I break it down to them what they both mean. They're both disrespectful. The word Negro deals with African American, dark-skinned people. That's what the word Negro is. The word nigger is an ignorant person. That's what it is. When I tell my kids what this represents, they get it. They get it. They tell me, I'm going to change from using that word.
But see, sometimes
Go ahead.
the black people will
Yes.
use that word all the time.
Absolutely.
And they'll, so is it a two-way street here?
Yeah, yeah, it's a two-way street. But see, Sam, we have been so conditioned that, yo, nigga, what's up? That's cool. I can bounce with you. And I tell the kids, if I'm home with my family in Philadelphia, we have fun, we shuck and we jive. But when you're out in school, when you're in an educated learning facility, you don't need to do that. You need to get your thinking cap on, get your education, and then over the weekend, if you want to hang out with your friends and say, my homie's with me, I'm going to get with my, that's a whole different ball game. That's a whole different ball game.
Here's another thing, folks. As they said, what will you change because of this discussion? Here, this is interesting. I'll change how I act towards people. I'll respect people who don't respect me.
Yes, Sam, we
Okay.
talked about that.
I'll also think before I do something.
Yes, we talked. That's all I talked about, Sam, because it's very important. You can't disrespect someone because they're disrespecting you and say, I'm even. It doesn't happen, Sam. You don't get even. You don't get even.
And how many times people will go to their graves
Yes.
holding a grudge?
Yes.
And sometimes when you do find out why people didn't talk to people, and then when they do talk to each other and they're around and they sit down and they talk and they say, listen, now that we're friends again, why did you ever say this? And the person says, I never said that.
Right.
Well, didn't you? And people, communication,
Yes.
particularly among family, okay?
Absolutely.
We got about a minute and a half left. What is the message that you want to tell my viewers?
My message is this. I want to, along with other educators, get the word out there to our kids that they are somebody, that they are somebody special, and they are awesome. I want to build up their self-esteem. I want them to realize that they are not junk because God don't make junk. You are a part of a world that you deserve to live in.
And I tell people, I used to get up in the morning, look at the mirror and say, boy, you're fantastic, wonderful.
Yes.
You're no matter. And some people, whether they're short, whether they're fat, whether they're tall, whether they're, we all have something to offer in life.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things that you've done all your life. I know you for a long time, and it's always, even when you're doing something good, I hear, what's he up to now? What's Greg trying to prove, okay?
No,
Instead of
Sam.
saying, well, maybe Greg's bringing his experience to
Absolutely.
all these students, okay, and bringing a message across.
Yes.
I applaud you for that. I know you a long time. You wouldn't be on this show if I thought you were just doing, some kind of
Sam,
scheme here.
Let me tell you something. I cannot be more compassionate about anything else in life. My singing career did what it did. God gave me the talent to make a decent living. I did that. It is now time to stop reading the paper and do something about this. Yes.
Well, Greg, I wish you the best.
Thank you.
We'll as things develop in your life, folks, if you want to contact Greg, it's 430-9005-570. I highly recommend any parent teachers or associations or any schools to definitely get him into your school and have him speak to the students. You'll be very, very pleasantly surprised the reaction you'll get, and it's a good educational process. We'll see you next time on the Sam Lesante Show.
God bless.